Good morning, children. We were discussing about different diseases in human beings, and I think we reached up to amoebiasis. Protozoan diseases we have completed. Am I right? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Protozoan diseases we have completed. Now I have to start with Helminth diseases. Helminth diseases means the diseases caused by different types of worms. So bacteria, viruses, then protozoans, all that we have covered. The different diseases caused by bacteria, viruses and protozoans we have already completed. So today we will be starting with the diseases caused by worms and even diseases caused by fungi. So let's begin. I am not asking you any review questions, believing that you are busy with your revisions. Okay. So do prepare well. If you haven't done it thoroughly, do it well. Paper is not going to be that easy. So the first Helminth disease that we are going to learn is Ascariasis. Hope you are remembering about Ascariasis. You had learned last year as well as in class 9. Ascariasis lumbricoides. Hope you are remembering, children. And the disease Ascariasis is caused by the Helminth ascaris. And you call it as an intestinal parasite. Intestinal parasite because it is found in it leads a parasitic life in human intestine. So you call it as intestinal parasite. So the pathogen, the definition for pathogen is any disease causing organism. The disease causing organisms, you can call them in general as pathogens. So the causative organism is Ascaris. Ascaris, you don't have to learn the species name. In the textbook only genus name is given. So Ascaris is an intestinal parasite and it causes Ascariasis. Now moving on to the next point. The organs affected. So once you are affected by this disease, the organ which is mainly affected is your intestine. Okay. So intestine is the organ that is commonly affected. Mode of transmission, how it is getting transmitted. So you know what is a causative organism and also the organs affected. Now moving on to transmission, how it gets transmitted from one person to another through soil, water, vegetables, fruits and even all these, like whether it is soil, water or vegetables or fruits that has got contaminated with feces containing the eggs of parasites. When an affected person excrete, or especially this happens when they practice open defecation. So if the feces get a chance to get mixed with any of these substances and another person coming in contact with or consuming any of these fruits or vegetables can get affected. Is it clear? The feces of the affected person, I told you already, this is affecting your intestine. So when it is affecting your intestine, once excretion takes place, the eggs of these worms also will be released and these feces will contain, feces of the affected person, feces of the affected person will be having the eggs and this eggs can contaminate soil, water, vegetables and fruits. A person coming in contact with any of these can get affected by the disease. Then symptoms: internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia and blockage of intestinal passage. And you know the significance of your intestinal passage. It is through where the digested, undigested food, the food materials, even the waste materials have to pass through it. But when these worms multiply in number, they will block the intestinal passage. So that can lead to so much of complications. So even though we say it is a worm trouble, so this can have so much of complication. This can create so much of health hazards in your body. So I'll repeat once again. We started with the first Helminth disease, that is Ascariasis. It is caused by Ascaris. Actually, it is Ascaris lumbricoids. In your textbook, only Ascaris. Genus name is given, so you need to learn only that. It is an intestinal parasite, and the organs affected, it is the, as I told you, intestine. I think the correct pronunciation is intestine. Okay, whatever it is, intestine or intestine of man. Then mode of transmission, it is transmitted through soil, water, vegetables or fruits or food items which have got contaminated with the feces of the affected person, because these feces will be having the eggs of the parasites, and if they come in contact with these, any of these products which I mentioned, and if a healthy person happens to consume it, he might get the disease. Symptoms: internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia, and blockage of intestinal passage. Okay, can I proceed? Yes?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Now moving on to filariasis or elephantiasis. Have you heard about this disease, children? Have you heard about it? Yes. What do you call it in Malayalam? Huh? What is? Louder. Yeah, correct. So you can see the affected person, they will be having swollen limbs. That is because of the blockage of the lymph vessels. And let's see more about filariasis and elephantiasis. Why you call it as elephantiasis? You know, the elephants are having very, what to say, stout limbs or very fat limbs are there. So similar to an elephant's foot. So our legs or our limbs will become, or it will resemble that of an elephant. That is why you call this disease as elephantiasis. Pathogen: filarial worm or Wuchereria. Wuchereria brangofti, Wuchereria malai. These are the two species that can cause this disease: Wuchereria malai or Wuchereria bancrofti. Wuchereria bancrofti or Wuchereria malai. These are the two species of Wuchereria that can cause this disease. In general, you call it as filarial worm, and it causes filariasis. And the organs affected, as I told you, lymphatic vessels of mainly lower limbs of your legs, and even the genital organs can be affected. I think in your textbook there is a picture given with a man whose genital organs as well as the limbs are affected, legs are affected. You can see these parts will get swollen because the lymph vessels are getting blocked. 10th standard you have learned about the different functions of lymph. Lymph will drain the excess fluid, excess extracellular fluid back into circulation, back into blood. But when the lymph vessels are blocked, the fluid will get accumulated over there and it can cause swelling of the body parts. Lymphatic vessels of lower limbs in the sense your legs, genital organs, etc. are commonly affected. Mode of transmission: the carrier is mosquito, causative organism. I told you it's filarial worm, but this will spread. This filarial worm is transmitted from an affected person to a healthy person by means of mosquito bite. Culex mosquito, female Culex mosquito, and this particular mosquito is the carrier of the disease. Now coming to symptoms. Filarial worms, they are usually found in the lymphatic vessels of lower limbs. See, just like your blood vascular system, lymphatic system is also coming under your circulatory system. Lymph also plays an important role in circulation. It drains the excess fluid back into blood. All that you have learned in class 10. So when your lymphatic vessels, so just like arteries and veins for our other blood vessels you have learned, blood circulatory system, the different blood vessels you have learned, arteries and veins. Similarly, lymphatic vessels, lymph nodes, you have learned it already. And these lymphatic vessels, there these filarial worms survive and they will block these vessels. The fluid will get accumulated over there and it can lead to chronic inflammation. It will not be cured within a week or a two or a month or a two. It is chronic. It lasts for a long period of time. Sometimes it will remain as such till the end of the life. I have heard that there are certain surgeries by means of which it can be corrected. I don't know in details, but still I have heard like that. And it can lead to chronic inflammation of the organs, and where they live for years. Lymph and genital organs will be deformed. So the normal structure, the normal form will change. It will be deformed. Okay. So I'll repeat. Once again. We started with the pathogen causing filariasis. Filariasis, we even call it as elephantiasis. The reason for that is once affected, the limbs will resemble that of an elephant. That's why you call it as elephantiasis. The causative organism is filarial worm, and the scientific name is Wuchereria. Two species are mentioned, Wuchereria bancrofti and Wuchereria malai. These are the two species of Wuchereria that cause the disease, and the different organs affected. Mainly it's a lymphatic vessels of lower limbs and genital organs. And even though the causative organism is filarial worm, it is transmitted by female Culex mosquito, by the bite of female Culex mosquito. And the symptoms, once we are affected by this disease, it will lead to chronic inflammation of the lymphatic vessels, because these worms are surviving in the lymphatic vessel. They will block the lymphatic vessels. The fluid gets accumulated over there and can lead to the swelling. And finally, what happens? The affected parts, limbs, I told mainly it is the lower limb and genital organs. Other parts also can be rarely affected, and once affected, these parts will be deformed. Their normal form, normal morphology structure will change. Any point to be repeated about these two helminth diseases? You want to see the previous slide once again? I am waiting for your response. Yes? Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now after summarizing, we will proceed. Sharon, Meenakshi, Nidhi, Mehak, Sania, Nia, Rijas, Anthony. You understood why I called. Okay, Nidhi has got the permission. She has messaged me. Nia also can turn it on. Okay. Who will start? Let me start with Nivin. What did we learn today? Quickly summarize so that we can proceed to the next one.
We learned about the helminth diseases, pathogen which is Ascaris. It affects intestine of man.
Okay, enough. Donna, by the way, your WhatsApp profile picture is very cute. Okay, continue. I can't hear you. Not purposely muted though. I can't hear. Okay, Anna. Serious, Anna? No smile on your face? Okay. Yes, continue.
Mode of transmission is soil, water.
Soil, water.
Vegetables, fruits, etc.
Vegetables and fruits. Why? How?
When it gets contaminated with feces containing eggs of parasites. Feces of the affected person containing the eggs of parasites. What else, Vidur? What else we learned?
Symptoms are internal bleeding.
Oh?
Symptoms.
Pardon?
Symptoms are internal.
Symptoms.
Symptoms are internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia.
What including symptom? Blockage of the
intestinal passage.
Okay. Sharon?
Filariasis or elephantiasis. Elephantiasis.
Then
Pathogen, filarial worm or Wuchereria and Wuchereria bancrofti.
Bancrofti and
Wuchereria malai.
Okay, okay, enough. Next point. Meenakshi?
Organs affected are the lymphatic vessels of the lower limbs and genital area.
Okay. Anthony, next.
A mode of transmission is through female mosquito bite.
Female, which mosquito? Starting with C. Culex mosquito. Mehek?
Symptoms, when the lymphatic vessels, they cause inflammation.
Why it gets inflamed? Because where do they live? Where do these worms live? Where do they live? In the lymphatic vessels. So these worms live in the lymphatic vessels and they cause chronic inflammation. These lymphatic vessels will be blocked and it will lead to inflammation which lasts for a long time. That's why it is said as chronic inflammation, and finally the affected organs will be deformed. Okay, we'll proceed now to the next one. Am I going fast? No, okay. Okay, this is a picture. You can see the limb, the lower limb, his left limb is swollen because of the disease. Now, we are moving on to a fungal disease. And for your practicals also, you need to identify the causative organism that causes this particular disease. Now, this particular term, ringworm, that is a misnomer. Actually, when you hear the word ringworm, what comes to your mind? Meenakshi, what do you understand when you hear the term ringworm? It's a, let it be wrong. It's a worm. That is what we usually think. It's a ringworm. Means maybe some ring shaped worm. That is what we assume. But actually, ringworm is not a worm. It's a disease. And the interesting fact is that this is not caused by a worm, but it is caused by a fungus. But still you call it as ringworm. Because as you can see in the picture, I have given two pictures there below. And there you can find, once affected, the person will get some ring-like patches. Some ring-like patches are found. So that is why it got the name ringworm. Ringworm is not an organism. It is a disease and caused by a fungus, not a single fungus, a group of fungi. We will learn the names. Pathogens causing ringworm infections are Microsporum, Trichophyton, Epidermophyton. Microsporum, I think we are having Microsporum here. The slide of Microsporum is there and you need to identify under sporting, which carries 1 mark. If God permits, we will meet soon and start doing the practicals. Okay. Now, Microsporum, Trichophyton, Epidermophyton, and these are seen in, usually these are found in the groin, between toes, etc. What do you mean by groin? It's a region between your lower abdomen and thigh. So between the thighs and the lower abdomen, that particular region is known as groin. So usually, because these places there can be moisture, that is why this is usually found in such parts like groin, in between the toes and all. Other parts are also affected as you can see in the picture, but commonly seen in these areas. So the 3 microorganisms or the 3 organisms or the 3 fungi that cause this particular disease are Microsporum, Trichophyton and Epidermophyton. Okay? Don't get confused with the names. 2 names are ending with phyton, the other one Microsporum. Microsporum, Trichophyton, Epidermophyton. Now, organs affected: skin, nails, folds of skin, groin. So apart from groin and in between the toes and all, you can see on the skin surface, skin folds. So anywhere you can find, mostly the skin is affected, and this is more commonly found in regions where moisture can get trapped. So those areas you can find this fungal infection more. Mode of transmission. If you share same materials, for example towels, then clothes, comb, all these if you are sharing, then there are chances that you may get the disease. If an affected person, if you are sharing these materials with an affected person, there are chances that you get affected by this particular disease. Heat and moisture will help the fungi to grow. So in all the regions what I mentioned, their moisture can get trapped, and when warmth is also there, that is the best, those are the favorable conditions for the fungi to thrive, and they will multiply and cause the infection. Symptoms: dry, scaly lesions on skin, nails and scalp. Even on the scalp you can find this. That is why sharing the comb is also, they said, that is also another method of transmission. So it can be seen on the scalp also. It's not dandruff, it's another infection. Ringworm infection can be found on the scalp also. Dry, scaly lesions on skin, nails, scalp, and you will have intense itching. So unbearable itching will be there, and once you start scratching, again the wound will be worsened. And there are curative medicine, so there are it can be successfully cured by medicines, but before it spreads to other parts, we have to approach a doctor. And summarizing the points again, so we learned about the disease ringworm. Ringworm is a fungal infection, and it can be caused by, this particular disease can be caused by 3 different type of fungi, as I already mentioned. The 3 fungi are Microsporum, then Epidermophyton and Trichophyton. And the different organs affected are skin, groin, between the toes, nails, scalp. Wherever warmth and heat is there, the fungi find it suitable to grow there, because warmth and heat will help them to thrive. Then mode of transmission, if you are sharing towels, comb, clothes, etc. used by an affected person, there are chances that you may also get the disease. Symptoms: dry, scaly lesions like wounds, as you can see in the figure, on different parts of the body like skin, nails, scalp, in between the toes, groin region, everywhere, anywhere it can be found, and once it appears there will be intense itching, and if you scratch again the situations will be worse. Is that okay? Fine. Mehak and Anthony, why the videos are off? Children, if you feel I am going fast, I will slow down. Let me know. Okay, no? All these are very simple. Is it fine? And I have told you, please don't conserve energy when you are in the class. Now moving on to, at least in this new academic year, you need to change, children. At least I will get some relaxation when you speak in between. I can keep quiet for some time if you speak. Yes, no, Anna? Anna, you have changed your camera?
Yes, ma'am.
Very clear picture now. Skin and all is very clear now. When did you change? During the vacation?
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe it is your skin is like that, or due to the quality of the camera, whatever it is, you are looking better now. Earlier also you were looking good. I didn't mean that. Okay. Coming back to the point, for diseases which spread through contaminated food and water. Now what we are going to see are, how can you prevent? We learned about so many diseases. We learned about the diseases caused by bacteria, fungi, viruses, protozoans. Now what we need to see is, how can we prevent them? How can we control them? We always say that prevention is better than cure. So once you are getting, or once you get the disease, then you have to cure it. So it's better to prevent it so that you are safe from these diseases or infections. So what all points you have to take care to prevent and control these diseases. Let's start with the first one. So those diseases which are spreading through contaminated food and water. First point, maintaining personal and public hygiene, very, very important. So that will help us to prevent the diseases that spread through food and water like typhoid, amoebiasis, ascariasis. You already learned the means of spread of different diseases, and amoebiasis, ascariasis, typhoid, all these are spreading through contaminated food and water. So if you are maintaining personal and public hygiene, to certain extent you can prevent all these diseases. So definitely you have to maintain personal hygiene, but if you maintain hygiene and if the public is not maintaining, there are chances that you too get the disease. So it is equally important, both personal and public hygiene. If each one is maintaining personal hygiene, then that means public hygiene is also achieved. Personal hygiene, no need to say all these, but still it is mentioned in the textbook. I am listing it out. I think from LKG classes you are learning what all things you need to do to maintain personal hygiene. In the picture also it is shown. You have to keep your body clean, you have to bath regularly at least once, brush twice a day at least once. Then what else? No more points to add? Use clean drinking water and food. Public hygiene, proper disposal of waste and excreta. So we have seen that some people, they will keep their courtyard or their their house or surroundings clean, and they dump all these waste into some public place or into a neighbor's courtyard or a neighbor's place. But that should not be done, because even if you are throwing it into all these waste into others' house or into a public place, the flies or whatever it is, these microbes can even spread from there, and finally it can reach you too. So along with maintaining personal hygiene, you should practice public hygiene also. So never dispose waste in public. Some people, they carry all the waste, they clean their house and surroundings and they dump it in some public places, not where a dustbin is there. In open places they might throw it just to get rid of the waste from their home. That should not be done, because when you drop them in the public places, that also can be the breeding places for all these flies and all, and finally it can result in the spread of diseases. If an epidemic is just starting, it can finally reach you. You cannot protect yourself from there. So if each one is maintaining personal hygiene, then naturally public hygiene can be achieved and you all will be free of diseases and you can remain healthy. Proper disposal of waste and excreta, very, very important. Then periodic cleaning and disinfection of water reservoirs, pools, cesspools and tanks. So this is also very important. So wherever, if you have coolers, tanks, all these at home, that has to be cleaned. And even wells, we used to disinfect once in a while. I think from panchayat or municipality, they used to bring some powder, bleaching powder and all. They'll ask us to add it into well and leave for 1 or 2 days. You might have experienced, you might have done all that. Means at least your parents, you might have seen them doing. So periodically all the water reservoirs, whether it is at home or in the public places, everywhere this should be done. Periodically disinfection and cleaning of water reservoirs, pools, tanks, cesspools, all that will be should be done, so that you will remain healthy and become free of all these diseases that spread through contaminated food and water. Okay? Any points? Any doubt? Now next, just now we completed what is to be done in the case of diseases that are spreading through contaminated food and water. Now next is about the diseases that spread through air. See here the 6 feet distance. Now I think even in this corona situation we are not maintaining 6 feet distance. But actually if you need to protect yourself from airborne diseases, you have to maintain at least 6 feet distance between the other person. Okay? If you don't maintain this distance, there are chances that you get affected by airborne diseases. Now presently in the situation you are supposed to maintain this distance, and you are supposed to wear mask, and I know not only me, you know what is happening. You people are not stepping out, but you are seeing, like at least in TVs you might have seen, in news channels you might have seen, people even now, even after the situations have become so worse, they don't know how to wear the mask. It is not that they don't know, they are taking it for granted, or they don't take it seriously. They just cover their mouth and nose is left open, as if they have blocked corona there at the entrance of the nose. It can enter through the nose, but they don't. Maybe some of them, when we are not used to something, so you feel suffocated, so you might leave, or you might feel comfortable. In the beginning, I should accept that even I used to do it, but that was long back in the beginning. But now we all are serious, and when you are doing it, when you are covering your face with the mask, it should serve the purpose. That means both your nose as well as your mouth should be properly covered. If you are covering only your mouth, microbe can easily enter through your nose. So I am not telling it to you people, because I know you people rarely step out of your house. Okay, anyways, you have to maintain social distancing and wear the mask properly whenever you step out of the house. Avoid contact with the infected person and their belongings. Goes without saying. Standard practices of hygiene in public catering. In public catering also they have to maintain proper hygiene, proper cleanliness should be maintained by those people also. Otherwise a large group of people can get affected by the diseases. So that was about airborne diseases. Okay, any doubt? Why Michael so happy? Some distraction in between, some chatting is going on. Otherwise, seeing the ways to prevent airborne diseases, you need not be this happy, no, Michael? Huh? With whom you were chatting? Who is the person? Huh? I know you are very frank. Huh?
I'm not sharing.
But then why that smile on the face? Any reason? We will, if you share, we will also laugh. Huh? Okay. When I ask the questions, if you don't respond, then we'll see. Oh yes, Nia, I will. Is that fine? Nia? Nia, can I change?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, vector-borne diseases. What are vectors, Gayatri? What do you mean by vectors?
Insects and all which.
Okay. Carriers of disease. Those which carry the disease-causing organism from one person to another, from an affected person to a healthy person, like mosquitoes, houseflies, cockroaches. So there are so many, even dogs, cats, they transmit rabies virus. So all such organisms you call as carriers of vectors. Now in case of vector-borne diseases, so main vector, the common vector that we have learnt is about mosquitoes. So different species of mosquitoes, they transmit different types of diseases. So what is to be done? Some of the points you can tell. How do you prevent, or how can you control vector-borne disease? Say for example mosquito, some disease like malaria or dengue fever, how to prevent it spreading? I should call out your name, only then you will say. Tell me.
The food items.
Yes. Oh?
Covering the food items.
Covering the, can you speak a little louder? I don't know whether it is because of the headset or because I am growing old, I am not able to hear properly. Either of these.
Not eating exposed food items.
Not
Eating exposed food items.
Not leaving the food items exposed. But mosquitoes, that is about houseflies, what you said is correct. Yes, houseflies, that is correct point. If you think about the diseases transmitted by houseflies, who said, was it Dona or Punya? Okay, about mosquitoes, the diseases that spread by mosquitoes, how can you prevent? Come on. Yes, Punya?
Not allowing contamination of water.
Some other term is there for that. Water should not remain. Yes, means the water should not remain still or get collected somewhere. It can be even a broken tires or even bottle cap, coconut shell, anywhere there is in your in the surroundings of your house. If these materials are scattered, especially during this season, rainy season, water can get collected in all these. Even a small bottle cap is more than enough. So many flies or the mosquito can lay so many eggs in that small pool of water, and then quickly it will multiply and it can spread the diseases. So never ever allow water to remain stagnant. So if these materials are there in your surroundings, immediately you should dispose it off, or what you can do is you can keep all these things upside down. If it's a coconut shell, you keep it upside down so that water will not get collected, or you can dispose them off. Avoid stagnation of water. Regular cleaning of household coolers, because in coolers also water can get collected. Flower vase, there also if you are keeping fresh flowers at home, maybe in water you will keep these flowers, there also you have to regularly change the water, otherwise there also mosquitoes can lay eggs and can spread these diseases. Introducing larvivorous fishes, like if you have some, what to say, maybe for decoration or for decorative ponds might be there in your house. Now we get concrete tanks where you fill water and you grow lotus or lily plants. So even in that case, that is also a pool of water where water is getting collected. So there also the mosquitoes can lay eggs and multiply. So in such cases, what you can do is you can introduce some larvivorous fishes. Larvivorous means carnivorous. So vorous, larvivorous means those which eat larva of mosquito. They feed on the larvae of mosquitoes, and they will kill all the larvae so that these mosquitoes cannot multiply. For example, Gambusia, Guppy, all these if you can add it to ponds or such tanks, then they will clear off all the larvae of these flies and you will be safe from these diseases. Spraying insecticides in ditches, drainages and swamps. So wherever water is getting collected, you can even spray insecticides also, so that if some eggs and larvae are there, they also will get destroyed. Using mosquito nets when you sleep, like either you can fit it in the windows, netted windows. Now many are doing it. Providing doors and windows with wire mesh, as you can see in the figure, or like mosquito nets which can be spread around your bed. So I think, I don't know whether anybody is using it now. Earlier I still remember during my childhood days and all, we used to sleep under the mosquito net. So I think maybe you can practice it now also. I don't know whether somebody is using it now. And doors, that is a common thing. Now many people are doing the windows. They are fitting meshes or nets, wire meshes on the doors as well as on the windows to keep themselves away from these mosquitoes. These precautions will help us to protect ourselves from vector-borne diseases like malaria, filariasis, chikungunya, dengue fever, etc. So these are some of the precautions that we can take to protect yourself from vector-borne diseases. I will repeat the points once again. Controlling and eliminating the vectors. But how to control and eliminate the vectors? Avoiding stagnation of water, regular cleaning of household coolers, introducing larvivorous fishes like Gambusia, Guppy, etc. into the ponds or water tanks where you grow some decorative plants. Then spraying insecticides in ditches, drainages, swamps, using mosquito nets. Then fitting doors and windows with wire mesh, or fitting wire mesh on doors and windows. And with all these precautions, you can protect yourself from vector-borne diseases. Any slide you would like to see? Water left surrounding our house. Close the windows earlier before they enter. Okay, Nevin, that is correct point. By 6 o'clock we should close all the windows. We should not wait till late night to close it, because so that mosquitoes won't enter. Then what Nia has mentioned, can you just make it clear, Nia, what you wanted to convey? Nia, are you there? No. Maybe her connectivity went. Children, whatever we had covered today, any confusion? Any doubt? Rijas, what happened to your connectivity today? You were in between going and coming. So tell me some methods by means of which you can control vectors.
Avoiding stagnation of water.
Then?
Using mosquito nets.
Yes. No need of reading. One more point if you say, I'll pass it to the next person.
Regular cleaning of household coolers.
Okay. Mehek? Remaining points?
Introducing larvivorous fishes.
Introducing larvivorous fishes into ponds, then?
Covering the windows with the wire mesh.
Okay. Any other point, Michael?
Public and proper hygiene.
Proper hygiene. How to prevent the multiplication of these flies, or how to protect yourself from vector-borne diseases?
Don't leave stagnant bodies of water.
All that we said. Never allow water to remain stagnant. Then about larvivorous fishes. Then fitting wire mesh on the doors and windows. Then
Regular cleaning of household coolers.
that also mentioned. That means you are not listening to others' points too. At night, now you will say mosquito repellents. That is not that good for your health, but whatever it is, one more point I said. And I told about my childhood days also, when I said that point. Where were you? Naureen, tell me which was that point.
Using mosquito nets.
Using mosquito nets while sleeping, which can be spread around your bed. Have you got a mosquito net at home? No. Okay, one more point was there, no? Gayatri? Gayatri, where are you? One more point is missing. All the points will...
Insecticides in the swamp.
Cleaning, spraying.
Spraying.
Spraying insecticides into stagnant water bodies. Okay. Any other doubts? Any slide you want to see again? Steffi? Steffi is not there. Okay. No doubts, no? Shall I wind up? We have one more period today. Shall we wind up? No doubts, no? Donna? Okay. So thank you, children.
Thank you, ma'am.